Do not turn off this video. Watch it until the end, because what you will hear in the last few minutes may overturn everything you have ever believed in. This is not a story about mysticism. This is a story about you, about your dreams, about the people who come there not by chance, about those whom you may have long forgotten or have not yet met. Almost 100 years ago, a man named Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet of America, made a discovery that changed the understanding of dreams forever. He claimed, if someone familiar appears in a dream, it is not a play of imagination. It is a meeting of souls, genuine, real, taking place beyond time and space. You may doubt it, but remember, have you ever had the feeling that the person from your dream was really there? Their gaze, their voice, their touch, too vivid to be just fantasy. Cayce said, it is not coincidence. Souls truly meet in dreams, and every such meeting carries meaning. He called dreams gates between worlds. Where the mind sleeps, the soul awakens. It leaves the body, rises higher, to where there are no clocks and no distances. If someone appears in your dream, it means their soul resonates on the same frequency as yours. You are tuned to the same wave. Cayce believed that the subconscious is a radio receiver catching signals from other souls, and the stronger the connection, the clearer the signal. Sometimes it is a close person, sometimes the one who is thinking about you this very second, and sometimes someone connected to you from long ago, from other times. He spoke about the great library, the Akashic archive, where everything is recorded, every meeting, every feeling, every choice. When a person appears in your dream, you are simply opening a page where your souls have already been together. But here is what truly amazes. Sometimes in a dream you see people you have never met, and then fate brings you together in reality, and you recognize them instantly, as if meeting an old friend. One woman told Cayce that for 3 nights in a row she dreamed of a man in a white coat. A month later, she found herself in a hospital and saw him, the doctor who saved her life. Cayce just smiled. The soul always warns in advance. He claimed, souls make agreements even before birth, about love, about meetings, about farewells that will change us. And it is in a dream that the soul reminds us of these promises. You see someone you have long let go. You think, coincidence. But the soul knows the lesson is not finished. Until you understand why this connection was given to you, the dream will return. Sometimes as tenderness, sometimes as pain, sometimes as a quiet reminder, we are not done yet. Cayce said, dreams are the mirror of the soul. Every person in it is a reflection of you. The one who loves shows how capable you are of loving. The one who hurts reflects your unhealed wound. The soul, Cayce said, is the director of your dreams. It chooses familiar faces so that you finally look at yourself, because we ignore symbols, but those we have loved, we listen to. Thus dreams become the language of the soul, not a game of the mind. And if you learn to understand this language, you will stop fearing the dream. You will begin to live in it. But wait, everything you have heard is only the surface, because Edgar Cayce claimed, a dream is not a reflection of thoughts. It is a journey of the soul. When the body sleeps, the soul awakens. It leaves the flesh, glides through invisible space to where there is neither pain nor time. And there, in the soft light without walls or clocks, it meets others. Not symbols, not ghosts of memory, but the same living souls as you. Many laughed. Too beautiful to be true. But Cayce was not a poet. He conducted thousands of readings under hypnosis. And people who did not know each other described the same places, the same people, the same events, and then all of it repeated in reality. The dream became a draft of destiny. He called it the plan of the soul. There it is decided what will happen tomorrow. You see someone in a dream and do not understand why exactly them, but on the level of the soul it is a meeting, an agreement, a warning, or a healing. Cayce said, everything is determined by vibration. Every thought, a frequency, every feeling, a signal. Love sounds higher than fear, forgiveness softer than anger. That is why in dreams we meet those who resonate in unison with our inner tone. Imagine night, silence, the soul, like a radio station, and suddenly, a signal. Somewhere on the other side of the planet, another soul sounds in the same range. At that moment you connect, and it is not imagination. Cayce claimed, hearts communicate across distances, not with words, with the energy of feelings. He called it the telepathy of hearts. Sometimes in a dream the soul returns to you a person with whom something remains unfinished. You did not forgive, did not let go, did not understand, and the dream creates a new meeting to close the old circle. This is the first reason a soul appears in a dream, incompleteness. The second, the call of love. When someone thinks of you with such force that the energy passes through time. You meet in a dream, one sees the other, and both wake up with warmth in their chest. That cannot be explained. And the third reason, foreshadowing. When a person appears in a dream whom you do not yet know but you feel they are important, and then fate brings you together, it is not coincidence, it is preparation. Cayce said, souls recognize each other before bodies meet. A young woman told him she dreamed of a stranger who silently held her hand. In the dream he said, soon you will not be alone. A year later she met a man, that very one. They married, and both claimed that the feeling of déjà vu never left them from their first meeting. Cayce wrote, this is not magic. It is the memory of the soul that lives beyond time. He believed that every dream which is remembered is a letter from the future. Be attentive, he said, because the soul always warns in advance. Sometimes it is a good premonition, sometimes a quiet signal of alarm. One man told Cayce that he often dreamed of a burning room. A week later, the wiring in his house caught fire. He woke up from the smell of smoke and saved his family. A dream, wrote Cayce, is not an illusion. It is the whisper with which God speaks. Sometimes this whisper calls to love, sometimes to forgiveness, sometimes to caution, but always to awakening. Now, attention, because what comes next is the deepest part. Edgar Cayce said, not all dreams bring peace. Sometimes they hurt. Sometimes they make you wake up in tears, with a heart pounding as if you had just survived a storm. But it is precisely such dreams that are the most sacred. He called them healing dreams. When the body sleeps, the soul works. It pulls from the depths everything that you did not dare to live through while awake, resentment, fear, guilt, the unspoken, forgive me. The dream brings it to the surface. And yes, it hurts. But pain is part of healing. Cayce said, emotions are energy, and if you do not forgive, it turns into poison. The dream gives a chance to be free. It returns those who once caused you pain, not to punish, but to complete. Sometimes you see a person you have long let go. It seems like coincidence, but the soul knows, not completely. It creates a new meeting, not in the body, but in the light. So that you finally say, I am not angry anymore. I understand. One woman told Cayce that for many years she dreamed of her former husband. He had died but continued to appear. At first she was afraid. Then she decided to speak, and she heard, forgive me, I cannot bear to see you suffer. After that dream he never came again. From that morning, she said, I felt peace for the first time. Cayce asserted, the soul does not move on until it heals the past. That is why it brings you back, to where it still hurts. He called it the inner judgment, but not a judgment of punishment, a judgment of truth. In the dream you see what you have hidden from yourself, and the soul says, look, it is time to understand. Why must I go through this? People asked him. Cayce answered, because you agreed. He said, before birth we choose not only joy, but also those who will bring pain, because only they can awaken in us what must be realized. There are no accidental meetings, Cayce wrote. There are only contracts signed before birth. He called them karmic agreements, soul contracts that stretch across lifetimes. Sometimes you were a parent to the one you now love. Sometimes an enemy. Sometimes a savior. The roles change, but the meaning is one. To learn to love, even through pain. And until the lesson is learned, dreams return. You can change cities, names, destinies, but the soul will call you again, to where the debt remains. Cayce said, "The soul does not leave the stage until it has spoken its last line." One man told him he dreamed of a person he had once wronged. That man just stood there and stayed silent. The same dream, 10 years in a row, until he found that person and asked forgiveness. Since then, silence. The dream left, he said, and with it, the heaviness disappeared. Cayce explained, dreams do not punish, they heal. Sometimes healing is like fire, sometimes like a storm, sometimes like a quiet whisper. You wake up and feel emptiness, but it is not loss. It is space that has been freed. He taught, if a dream repeats, the lesson is not learned. Forgive if you need to forgive. Ask for forgiveness if you must. Say what you did not have time to say, and the dream will go away. Not because you forgot, but because you became whole. Cayce said, freedom begins where accusation ends. As long as you seek the guilty, the soul sleeps. When you seek meaning, it awakens. Sometimes in a dream you meet an enemy. Sometimes the one who broke your heart. And suddenly you wake without anger, only with gratitude. Then you understand. Pain has ceased to be punishment. It has become medicine. But there was something Cayce spoke of with particular caution. He understood. Not everyone was ready to hear it. He claimed that sometimes in our dreams come not the living, but those who have already gone. He said, death is not the end. It is merely a change of frequency. When you fall asleep, your soul rises higher, to a place where love sounds purer. And if the bond between you was strong, you can feel that call. You see a familiar face. You hear a voice that should no longer exist. You wake in tears, not from fear, but from peace, from the sense that the person was truly there. Cayce said, love builds bridges between worlds. It is the only energy that never dies. The body leaves, memory fades, but love, it becomes the light, by which souls find one another. He asserted, the departed come in dreams not to frighten, but to comfort. To say, I am alive, I am near, I see you. Sometimes it's a touch on the shoulder, sometimes a glance. That explains everything without words. Sometimes a soft warmth, as if someone embraced you in the dark. And you wake with the feeling, it wasn't imagination, it was a meeting. One man wrote to Cayce that every night he saw his daughter, who had died in an accident. In the dream she smiled and whispered, Daddy, I am alive, just in another place. A few months later he stopped crying. I understood, he said. She didn't leave. She just became light. Cayce explained, when the soul loves, distance ceases to exist. In dreams, we remember, that love is stronger than death. But he added, such dreams are not merely comfort, they are awakening. Because when a person realizes that death is an illusion, they begin to live differently. Fear disappears. Awareness appears. You stop fearing the end because you begin to feel eternity. He called this the second awakening. The first, when you open your eyes in the morning. The second, when your soul opens. From that moment, you begin to see meaning, even in what once seemed random. Every face in a dream, every glance, every meeting is part of the great tapestry, woven by life itself. Cayce said, the universe wastes no meeting. Everyone who comes in a dream carries a message, even the one you try to forget, especially that one. Sometimes it is a guide you have never known, sometimes a child whose words change everything, sometimes a ray of light that gives you chills. Cayce called such moments a touch of the divine. When a person understands that the dream is reality and life is only a dream, he said, they become free. Free from fear, from time, from death. He called the dream a school of love. Each night the soul returns there, to learn. Sometimes through tenderness, sometimes through pain, but always for growth. He told the story of a woman who dreamed of a little boy calling her Mom. She did not know who he was. A year later she gave birth to a son and recognized him instantly. "It's him," she said. Cayce explained, souls come beforehand, to say, the meeting is near. Sometimes it happens the other way around. A person dies, but keeps coming back, because love does not let go. The deeper the bond, the brighter the bridge between worlds. He said, dreams are proof that love knows no death. And if you see those who are gone, do not be afraid. It is not a ghost. It is a reminder that eternity is real, and now, the most important part. The reason you were meant to watch until the end. Because right here lies the secret. That, according to Edgar Cayce, can change your entire life. He said, every dream is a conversation between your soul and God. Not a metaphor, not poetry. It is reality. Humanity has simply not yet learned to hear it. Cayce claimed that love is not a feeling, not chemistry, not attachment. Love is the memory of God within us. And when someone you loved appears in your dream, it is not just remembrance. It is the moment when two souls remember who they truly are. Fragments of one source, separated by bodies, by time, by lifetimes, but still one. He said that true love never dies. It does not weaken with time, nor vanish after death. It transforms into light, the light that connects people across centuries. And every dream filled with love is a touch of that eternity. Souls meet not because they must, Cayce wrote, but because they remember. Dreams are the way to remember who you were, whom you loved, what you promised, and why this very person has come into your life now. One woman told Cayce that she dreamed of her late husband. He came to her and said, "Don't cry. I'm near. Love doesn't die. It only changes form." From then on, she was no longer afraid to fall asleep. "Now I know," she said, "that every dream is a doorway home." Cayce said, "Every act of love adds light to your soul. This light accumulates in the great memory, the Akashic library of yourself, and the more love you give, the brighter your soul shines, the closer you become to the source from which all began." He repeated, "Love is the only reality. Everything else is temporary forgetfulness." But he warned, a person who doesn't listen to their dreams lives only half a life. They walk blindly through existence, not noticing that every night. The universe whispers them answers. Every meeting in a dream is a sign, every emotion, a message, every pain, a clue. Want to change your destiny, Cayce said. Start with what you see in your dreams, because dreams are a mirror in which everything the soul has not yet lived through is reflected. You will understand why some people come and others leave, why some relationships heal and others break, why one brief encounter can leave a mark for years. It is all the language of your soul. Cayce said, the more love you give by day, the purer your dreams become at night. The darkness fades, light appears. You wake not weary but inspired, because the soul no longer cries, it sings. He called this the awakening of the soul, when a person ceases to be a spectator of their dreams and becomes their author. When fear turns into understanding, pain into wisdom, and loss into gratitude. And then, Cayce said, the true evolution of humanity begins. Not through technology, not through science, but through the memory of the heart, through the return to the source, to love. He wrote, when a person dies, they simply awaken in a brighter dream, because life and death are two sides of one reality. And if you have learned to love, you do not lose, You transition. From one room to another. From dream to light. Perhaps that is why. Sometimes you feel a soft touch in an empty room, or a familiar scent that shouldn't exist. Perhaps that is why you feel chills when you remember someone who is gone. It is not imagination, it is the soul's response. Cayce said, "Such moments are the holiest ones, because it is in them that a human touches eternity." He did not ask you to believe, he asked you to feel, to listen, to remember, and every night before sleep, to ask one question: what does my soul want to tell me today? The answer will come, not with thunder, not with a miracle, but quietly, in a dream, in a smile, in a feeling that you've understood but cannot explain. And it is then that you will come closer to the truth, because the truth is simple. Life does not end. Love does not die. Death is not loss. It is coming home. So next time, when someone comes to you in a dream, don't run away. Look into their eyes and ask, "What are you trying to teach me?" And perhaps you will hear the same whisper that thousands of people heard. After Cayce's readings, you are eternal. You are light. You are love that never ends. And in that moment you will understand. It was not just a dream, it was a reminder from the home where you have already been and where you will one day surely return.